Today we have with us a BMW 7 Series. This is the most luxurious line of the BMW company and this is 2015 730 ALD. So let's see what this car has to provide. Now, before we start the review of this car, I would especially like to thank Mohit and Raja Car Deals for lending us this car for a review. They have an awesome inventory of all other luxury cars and they are available at a price of a bargain, just like this car over here. And with that said, let's start the review of this car. Starting with the styling of this car, it has a very luxurious, classy look, which goes without saying that it looks very good with a luxury car like this. And it also has the very famous kidney grille. And if you still have a doubt that what car this is, you have a BMW logo shining on top of the hood. Talking about the headlamps of this car, we have a LED setup which BMW calls it BMW Adaptive LED. What that means is that it distributes the light according to the traffic. Moving down below, we have LED fog lamps, but one thing to notice is that the chrome bar has also been integrated into the fog lamps as well, which is a key attention to detail. If we talk about the side profile of this car, it is particularly my favorite. This being due to the 19-inch alloy wheels of this car, which have a very intricate design. The other thing that I liked in this car are the chrome inserts all around the windows and on the door handle as well. The rear end of the BMW 7 Series is pretty clean. Like, it only has a BMW logo in the center and the 730 LD badge on the right side. One unique feature which only comes in the BMW 7 Series is the chrome bar which goes across the back of this car. And it also integrates the reverse lights inside the chrome bar. And now let's start with features. Because this is a 7 Series, so obviously features are a loadful. So we're just going to be talking about the key features of this car, keeping in mind the length of this video. So we're going to first start with the doors of this car. And the first feature has to do with something called soft close doors. As you can see right now, the door is open, and as soon as I close the door, I just have to touch the door with the car body and the rest of the work is done by the car itself. See, once again, if I open the door and I just touch the door with the car body, the car will do the rest of the work and close the door for us. So this is really an amazing feature, because sometimes it happens that when we close the door door doesn't close properly, and then we have to come back, open the door once again and then push it close. Well, in this car, don't worry, because the car is going to do all the work for you. But we're still not done with the doors, because there is also another feature called door stability in this car. Now, in usual cars, there are door stability locks. That means the door will only stay stable at some few certain points at where you open the door. But not in this car, because when you open the door and no matter where you keep it, the door will stay stable, here or here. So as you can see, if I apply light pressure on the door is not moving from its place. But as soon as I apply a little bit more pressure, I can then move the door wherever you want. Now, the next feature in this car has to do with when you sit inside the car. Now, while you're sitting down, the car steering wheel goes into the furthermost back position so that you have the most leg room to sit inside the car. And as soon as you press the start button, the steering wheel will go back to the position where it was earlier. These are some few features that we don't actually think of, but then companies like BMW do. And that is why they make such luxurious cars such as the 7 Series. In a similar manner, when you want to leave the car and you press the start stop button to stop the car, the steering wheel will go back into its position so that once again you have a lot of legroom to get out of the car. Now, next up, I want to talk about the driver instrument panel over here, which is a completely digital panel. It's a screen, which is pretty nice because that gives you a various amount of features of its own. Like, for example, is the animations. As you can see right now, as in the tachometer, you can see the needle is around 1. That is why 1 is being highlighted and the other numbers are quite dull. But as soon as I rev the car, you can see as soon as the needle reaches 2 gets bigger and the other number gets dull. Similarly, for the speedometer, as soon as you start driving the car, when the needle increases, at that time those numbers get highlighted and the others become dull. So these animations do make the driving experience much better, and it offers a much more luxurious and a better driving experience, which I think is pretty awesome. Now the next features in this car has to do with the infotainment display over here, which is controlled by this dial over here, which is unique in its own. Let's have a look. Over here, as you can see, I've opened map right now, and one feature of this dial over here is interactive map. As soon as you click on that, you can now interact with the map using this dial. As you can see, I'm just going to do this along the dial, and it's a touch sensitive dial. As you can see, I can move around on the map, zoom in, zoom out, all that jazz using just this dial over here. And that's not all with the dial. We're going to go in depth with the dial in just a moment when we exit from the map. Now as you can see, I am in the destination input area over here. What I can do is either I can rotate the dial in this manner and then choose it letter by letter, which is quite tedious and time taking. Well, the easier way is just write it over here. For example, as you can see on the display right now, I'm going to write R, and it registers a R. Similarly an I, and then N. It registers that in a pretty good way, as you can see, and that is pretty good. But you know what the easiest way is? It's actually just saying it out loud. You go over there and then push in the dial for a voice input.
Please spell the name of the place.
ZIRKPUR.
Zarapur.
Yeah,
Please
okay.
say the command, street, start guidance, or...
So actually this display is more intelligent. I actually forgot A, but still registered it, so that's pretty nice anyways. So those are the different kind of commands that you can give to the display over here using this dial or your voice, which I think is pretty nice and good. Now the next feature of this car that I quite like is in vehicle information. If I go over here into picture search, now this is a really nice option over here, because sometimes it happens that when you're trying to find something in the owner's manual, you can't really find it because it's a very long and hefty little manual, so you can't find anything in it. But picture search is really nice because it gives you picture representation of everything you want to find. Like at 1 we have wheels and tires, number 2 we have front lights, number 3 we have thread for towing eye, number 4 we have under the bonnet. So for example, I go into 6, that is interior. It gives me further representation of all the things in the interior. If I go into driving area / center console over here, it gives me further pictures of the center console. If I go into roof lining, it will give me more information about this roof lining over here. And then if I go into glass roof, over there it gives me the whole information regarding the glass roof of this car, which is really nice, and it doesn't take any kind of time. You can just find the picture of the car and then you're into it and you know everything about the glass roof of your car, which is pretty nice and time saving. Now the next feature of this car has to do with the cameras, because obviously it's a very long car and driving this car without the help of cameras is going to be very difficult. So that is why if I press this camera option over here, as you can see, we have the blind spot monitoring of this car over here. I'm going to actually tell Shubham to stand in front of the blind spot of this car, and so that you can see how this actually works. Right, so as you can see, now we have Shubham sitting over there in the blind spot of this car, and as you can see, I can actually see him in the blind spot monitoring of this car, because this car has an enormous hood. That is why it's going to be difficult to see if there is someone on the edge of the road or something like that. So that is why this blind spot monitoring can really come in handy. Similarly, we have another blind spot on this side for the other side. Now the next feature of this car has to do with the parking camera. So if I press this button, it gives me a 360 view of everything around me. As you can see right now, I'm really close to the fence behind me. That's why it's beeping at me, and it's also showing me red over here. And similarly, I have a front view as well. For example, I have Shubham standing in front of the car right now, and if I take this car into drive and I bring the car really close to Shubham, as you can see, in real time it's going to start showing me that I'm going close to something in front of me, and as soon as I get really close, it starts getting red. So this is a really nice feature and will help you a lot while parking the car. Now if we come into the rear seats over here, you can see we have screens for the rear seat entertainment over here and over here. So you can turn it on using this button over here, and it gives us a few information that was similar to the infotainment display over there. And we can control this display using this center seat over here, it gives us the control to control this display over here. And if you want to control the other display, well, you just need to press this button to control that display, and then every single option over here will be controlling that display. And as soon as I press this button, every single option over here will be controlling this display over here. So over here we have the same information like vehicle information and all of that stuff, which is pretty normal as that was over there on the infotainment display. We have radio for changing the radio in the car, and we have multimedia as well. Over here we have DVD, music collection, external devices such as USB, and then we can also change the sound settings over here like the treble, the bass, the fader, an equalizer, and we can also turn on the Logic 7 surround, which is powered by an Harman Kardon system. So that is why sound wise this car is going to be amazing, and it's going to be auditory bliss in this car. Well, if you are watching something else and your passenger is watching something else, well, you have these headphone jacks over here which can be plugged into a headphone, and then you can listen to your music or your whatever movie you are watching or something like that using the CD or USB, whatever. So this is why this display is really nice, and it works pretty amazing. And for the rear seat entertainment, there is nothing much more which anyone would more want. And so those were the key features of the BMW 730 LD. Please note that these were not all the features. Explaining all the features in this car would make this video about 2 hours long. So that is why we only explained the key features of this car. And now it's time to move on to the practicality.
Starting with the practicality, I would first like to talk about the glove box in this car. It is a very large glove box and is quite organized. There is a card holder and a pen holder below that. It is also lighted. Moving to the center console, above the gear selector, we have an ashtray alongside a cigarette lighter. Directly below that, we have 2 covered cup holders as well. Moving to the armrest in this car, which doubles as a center console storage, it is also lockable. When it opens, it reveals a decently deep storage cubby with a place to keep your phone as well. There is a unique feature in this armrest compartment which allows you to lock and unlock the trunk of this car. On the driver's side, there is a decent sized storage cubby which is very deep. Now in the rear seats of the 7 Series, if we talk about practicality, obviously we have door pockets in this car. One thing that I do like is that this car has a dedicated refrigerator in this rear seats. You can open it by pushing the lever and pulling it out, and now you can store the contents, whatever you want to keep it cold, and then you can close it back again. And if we close this compartment, there it is, the armrest of this car, and by pushing this button it reveals a storage cubby which is quite deep and have a coin holder in this car. And in front of the armrest there is a button. When we push that, it reveals 2 cup holders for the rear seat passengers, which are also adjustable according to your drink size. You can also adjust them manually. And putting up this armrest reveals the 5th seat in this car. Now for the most important part of our practicality session, which is to do with the trunk. First we're going to talk about opening this trunk. There are 3 ways to open this trunk. The first is on the key fob, second is on the driver's side footwell area, and third is the request sensor given below the trunk. As is an electronic tailgate, it opens automatically. If we talk about the storage space of this car, it is a normal storage space. And if you can see that box over there, that's the refrigerator of this car, and it has occupied some space. There are also hooks in this car for tying some nets. And there is also one net given in this car, which can be taken down at choice. On the other side, we have indentation to keep things organized. And if we remove that part, we have some storage space to hide some things.
And now we talk about comfort, like one of the key features and the biggest selling point of the 7 Series is comfort. So let's start with that. Over here, as you can see, as soon as I sit in the driver's seat, obviously being the front seat, I can move the seat back and forth and the backrest back and forth and all of that stuff, which is pretty normal. But then those are not the only buttons over there. We have a lot many buttons over here. So that is why the other buttons actually control the under thigh support in this car as well. As you can see, I can electronically control the under thigh support. I can even control how much the seat is gripping me using the seat belt string over here, which is a very nice feature. Also, I can control the headrest in this car if I can find the button, because there are so many damn buttons in this car. I can control the headrest of the height of the headrest using these buttons. I can also choose how much the seat is angled, whether I want a curvaceous seat or I want a straight seat. Well, I can do them using this button over here. And so I have so many buttons to work with, so many luxurious features in this car. It is just amazing. If you talk about the seat comfort, obviously it's a leather seat, very soft material. As soon as you sit in this seat, it's going to be an amazing experience, and driving this car is going to be a blissful journey. Now, one more feature about the comfort related of the rear passengers is actually controlling the passenger side seat on the front. Well, the driver can also control the passenger side seat by just pressing one button over on the door, and when I press that button, all these controls are going to actually control this seat over here. Well, the theory behind this is, for example, you have a driver driving your 7 Series and you're getting chauffeured around in your car and you're sitting in the back seat. Well, if you want more legroom, you can just tell the driver, well, move the seat forward, and then you have a lot of legroom. And the driver can do that by just pressing that one button and then controlling these controls for controlling that seat. Now, coming into the rear seats, I was just sitting in the driver's seat, as you know, and I'm pretty tall, 6'1", and even if I come into the rear seats, as you can see, I have at least 1 feet of leg space in this car, which is just amazing. And talking about the headroom, well, 4 or 5 inches are going nowhere. We have so much space in this car, it's literally, I'm speechless. And then if I talk about the amenities over here, I have a laptop table, because obviously you're a businessman, you're a person who is busy all the time because you have such an expensive car. So obviously you want to get some business done sitting in your 7 Series, so you can keep your laptop on this laptop table and get some work done while your driver is driving your 7 Series. Also, I even have the control of moving the rear seats back and forth, also reclining the seat for some time when you're not working and you want to relax in your car. Well, you can do that in this car and maybe just sleep, because it's so luxurious and so relaxing. So once I'm sitting in this car, I literally don't want to come out, but I just have to finish this review. But anyways, if we talk about that, and once again, if you want to go back to your normal position, just press this one button. No, don't need to fiddle around with all the buttons again and again. Just press this one button and it's going to do the work for you. The BMW 7 Series is a car in which you just buy it and relax. And so with that, we complete our review of the 2015 BMW 730 LD. But now comes the question of price. Like the title of this video suggests, that these cars are now selling at a bargain. So if we tell you the price of this car, it's actually gonna blow your mind away, because one of these cars new would have costed above 1 crores. And now this 2015 model, which is in great condition as you just saw in the video, is for sale at Mohit and Raja Car Deals for just 35 lakhs. Yes, that's right. Just 35 lakhs. I mean, this car was for sale back then when it was new for more than 1 crore rupees. And now you're getting so much discount on this car at such an amazing condition for just 35 lakhs. So if you're interested in buying this car, tell me in the comments down below or DM me on Instagram and I will give you a homie hookup on one of these cars or any other luxury cars.